All right, thanks for tuning in to this Facebook Live. I'm Matt, and you are hopefully watching. Obviously, you're watching. If you hear me talking right now, you're watching. So, anyway, I posted something on Facebook like, hey, any topics you want me to riff on 49ers wise? And basically crickets. So I thought, well, instead of just waiting around for a good topic to talk about, let's just go live and answer your questions and kind of create some sort of dialogue here. Um, let's see what is going on with the 49ers. Well, they've officially ended their offseason program, including their two practices at the mandatory mini camp, and now they're off. And as I'm trying to get confirmation on this, but I think the rule is 47 days before the first regular season game, a team can report to practice, the veterans can. And so, according to my math, and don't hold me to this, but I think that means the 49ers can report to training camp on July 22nd. Again, don't hold me to that. And then, of course, the rookies are eligible or they can report a full 7 days earlier just to get acclimated and everything else. Good morning to everybody who is joining this live right now, being recorded, not recorded, but filmed, I guess. Listen, there's not film involved, but it's being captured here from my living room. And so it's some people joining in right now. Thank you for joining. So yeah, I think that's right. And again, I'm trying to double check that. Got to get my schedule ready for the off season here, and then once the season starts. So my schedule looks like something like this. I had some interviews. I had 3 interviews the last 2 days of the mandatory mini camp. The next one, the first one that'll be dropping, will be on Monday, and that is with John Lynch, the 49ers general manager. So look for that on Monday for the 49ers Talk podcast. And then I spoke to a couple of players, and one very notable player who I spoke to about a significant life experience that occurred with him last summer, right before the start of the regular season. And then also spent some time with Jason Pinnock, who's an interesting guy. I had a fun interview with him. Pinnock, he told me that he didn't even know that Malik Mustafa was injured at the time that he signed his contract with the 49ers, but that he came here to be a starter. That's the way he views himself. And the history there is interesting because he was a 5th-round draft pick of the New York Jets in 2021. He was a cornerback converted to safety, and then the Jets, selected some safeties that year, the next year, and next thing you know, he gets released in August of 2022, entering his second year. That's Robert Saleh's Jets released him. And the plan was, when you clear waivers, come back to the practice squad, want to keep you around. But what happened was the New York Giants claimed him off waivers. So, by the way, he did have to move, even though he was going from the New York Jets to the New York Giants. But anyway, the last 2 seasons started 32 games for the Giants. And he has a lot of potential, good size, speed, everything, football IQ. Robert Saleh talked about his maturity, how that's grown as well. And his thing is to, start generating more takeaways, get his hands on the football, create some interceptions, some takeaways in that nature. But I would think that Jason Pinnock will be a week 1 starter because, kind of as I understand it, 3 guys will certainly, I shouldn't say certainly, I want me to leave myself a little wiggle room there, but Brandon Aiyuk, Malik Mustafa, and then the quarterback, 7th-round pick. Let me just check here. I'll probably end this abruptly whenever my daughters return home from getting breakfast together. So I have two daughters. The second one just got home from college yesterday. So we got the full household here for the time being. But anyway, Malik Mustafa probably start the season on PUP. And so Jair Brown should be good by then with the ankle procedure. And so I think with the way the season will start will be Jason Pinnock at one safety position and Jair Brown at the other safety position. And then when Mustafa comes back, and then the 49ers would have a decision to make. So kind of like last year when was it George Odom and Jair Brown began the season as the starters with Talanoa Hufanga out. And then later Mustafa replaced George Odom, and then Mustafa ended up replacing Jair Brown. So that's the safety situation. But anyway, Jason Pinnock, I think a lot of room to grow, and he's still a young guy, turns 26 later this month. So that's what's coming up for work. A couple of interviews that will be posted on 49ers Talk over the next couple of weeks. For me personally, what is today? Today is the 13th of June, a week, a little bit more than a week. I'll be doing a fun thing where I did it last year. Maybe some of you have done this. Maybe some of you would love to do this, and maybe it's a bucket list item for some people. I'm doing this hike, Havasupai, which is in northern Arizona, about 2 hour, 2.5 hour drive from Las Vegas, and it's a 10-mile hike to the campgrounds on the Indian reservation land of Supai Village, the Havasupai, and it's unbelievable, beautiful waterfalls within the desert, turquoise water, and that creek. It goes into Havasu Creek, goes into the Colorado River. So that's a full day, well, not a full day hike, but a long hike to get to the campgrounds, 3 nights there, day hikes with the waterfalls and everything out, and then the hike back out of the canyon. So total 4 days. So that's what I have coming up. And then kind of get away for a period of time. I'll be going to the ACC golf tournament. That's the Tahoe Celebrity Golf Tournament. And this year, Kyle Juszczyk will be there. George Kittle will be there. And I would imagine at some point, not too far down the line, Brock Purdy will also be there, but also Jerry Rice and Steve Young. So that is, I'll be there. I won't be there for the actual tournament, but I'll be there for like the practice rounds and doing some interviews for 49ers Talk. And then I know Jennifer Lee Chan, my colleague, will be going to Tight End University in Nashville, meet up with George Kittle, hopefully Luke Farrell, and some others. So that's kind of what I have going on. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to this 49ers Live. And I'm going to put on my readers and see what you guys are asking about. Before I get going, I know I talked a little bit about this on the 49ers Talk podcast. I'd say the 49ers are in pretty good shape right now. Certainly the young guys they brought in mostly looked the part, those guys who got on the field. Mykel Williams, I think, looks very good as far as what he brings to the table and all the stuff I've been hearing about him behind the scenes. And so, he's a guy that definitely will be a good fit for that defense. They like versatility, the way he sets the edge in the run game. And I think there is potential for him to probably exceed expectations as far as an edge rusher, but then also being able to bump inside and rush the passer from an inside position. The one big concern that I think there is a reason to have would be about the second round draft pick, Alfred Collins. I mean, this is a large guy, 330 pounds, and he had the injury, the calf injury at his pro day. 49ers selected him in the second round, fully knowing about the injury, but I don't know that they knew it was going to carry on for this long. And the reason I think it's a red flag or a reason for concern and that they really have to be careful is just because of his size and his conditioning. I just don't think like he needs that base. Guys that size, defensive linemen, rookie linemen, they need that base of the offseason conditioning. And the fact that he wasn't able to get on the field and do much at all, I think is a concern because you don't want to cram all that conditioning into the kind of the contracted part of training camp, the smaller time frame. And I just think that something that they're really going to have to be cognizant of, and I would say would be a concern that they certainly can't give him the full workload. And just because, like I said, because of his size, the conditioning aspect of it, and the risk or the fear that once this injury is cleared up, that something else doesn't crop up just because he doesn't have that conditioning base through this offseason. So something to keep an eye on. And otherwise, I think everything went about as well as it possibly could have for the 49ers during the offseason. They very much set their plan into place. They telegraphed the plan. They told everybody basically what they were going to do. And then, the first week of free agency, when all those players left, certainly some concerns. But, in talking to John Lynch, and I can't verify this, but I'll take his word for it, or at least I will pass along his word. The 49ers lost more players to free agency, or let's see, how do I want to word this? They lost more dollars to free agents leaving their team than any team has in the history of the game, which is understandable, I guess, and not too hard to believe because, with the salary cap getting bigger, contracts are getting bigger all the time. But, the one guy that they kind of keep pointing to and they keep reciting or they keep citing is Jalen Moore, a backup offensive tackle for the 49ers, who's now making $15 million a year with the Kansas City Chiefs. All right. So again, good morning. Thank you for joining me here. I'll be on with Greg Papa and Greg Silver on KNBR at, I believe it's 11:50 this morning. So in a little while here, but let's just kind of check in and see what you guys have to say. A few good mornings. Hey, Matt, it seems like the team is being a bit coy involving Aiyuk and his return. Do you think it's possible he plays week 1? I don't know if they're being coy, but they certainly don't want to get pinned down on anything. I think they're very cognizant of giving a time frame and maybe the pressure that comes along with that. I don't think they like the idea of saying, hey, he's going to be ready week 1. And then if the physical therapy doesn't continue on that path and now he's not available week 1, everybody's going, what's happening with Brandon Aiyuk, pushing the panic button and everything else. So what I can tell you, what I know, or at least what I believe I know, what I think is this. Brandon Aiyuk's right knee injury was very serious, and it required surgery on the ACL, but also the MCL was torn, and there was other damage in there. I'm assuming meniscus, but I don't know that for certain. I think there was cartilage damage in there. The MCL doesn't require surgery, but it does push back the time frame on the surgery and even the healing process, just because there's more complexities within the knee. Now, from what I understand, his rehab is going far better than, I shouldn't say far better. It's going either on where they expect it to be or even ahead of that time frame. And so there is some thought that, yeah, maybe he could even get out there and practice. However, I'm talking about in training camp. However, they just, after signing him to that big money deal last summer, they're going to have him, or they expect to have him for the long term. And the way contracts are exploding and continue to explode, I should say, in the wide receiver market, there's a possibility that if he returns to form, the form that he showed in 2023, that big money deal he signed a year ago will end up being a bargain as far as what other wide receivers are being paid around the NFL. Okay, all that said, expect him to be placed on PUP to open training camp. And also, what I'm told is more than likely he will be placed on PUP to start the regular season, or at least that's what I'm reading into this. So I would expect, and again, don't hold me to this. I'm not a doctor. I don't examine him. I don't know the specifics of where he is, but just kind of reading the tea leaves here. I think that he will start the season on PUP, which means he'd be out for the first 4 games of the season, and then it's on. Not necessarily he'd be out there week 5, but a very good chance that they would open his practice window week 5, and then after a week or so, and all this is contingent on how he looks, how he feels, and how he's progressing. So if I were just to make a wild speculative guess, and that's all it is, would be, let's say, week 6. He'd be ready to go week 6. That's just a guess. So but I don't think you're looking at too far after that. If it's not week 6, week 8, but it could even be week 5. You never know. But that would be my guess, week 6. So that's why the 49ers just don't want to get pinned down by giving this time frame several months out and then feel like they have to be held to that time frame. So that's why they are being coy. But I would agree. They've been very careful about not revealing any time frame or giving any kind of too much information on how his rehab is going. Thank you for the video. As much as OTAs and minicamp can impress someone, were you more impressed with Jacob Cowing or Jordan Watkins? And how does Jordan James look in comparison to Garindo? I think Garindo looks pretty good. Now, Garindo spent a lot of time this offseason working out with Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall. So I think when the 49ers drafted Jordan James, I thought, there's a good chance, or there's a chance that he beats out Garindo for the backup job. I don't think that anymore after watching the offseason program. I do think Garindo does look good. Question with him, and it continues to be a question with him and has been for quite some time, is just his ability to stay healthy, take care of his body, avoid the hits, and, frankly, have luck on his side a little bit. As far as the wide receivers go, I would say that Jordan Watkins is far ahead of Jacob Cowing, where Cowing was last year at this time. That's not saying a whole lot because Cowing, rarely got on the field last year in an offensive capacity. I think Cowing, there's a role for him, maybe an identifiable role for him as a slot receiver. So that probably pushes him a little bit ahead of Jordan Watkins. But when you look at the 49ers wide receiver position, I do think that even without Brandon Aiyuk, it's very clear to me that their top 2 wide receivers are Juwan Jennings, far and away, and then a step down, Ricky Pearsall, and then a step down from there, the others. Although Demarcus Robinson, if he can get on the field, he looks pretty polished and has a really good sense of playing the position and how he fits into this offense. So I would say that those 4 guys, and Watkins has a lot of learning to do, but he just looks more polished than a typical rookie wide receiver. So if you ask me who looked better in this camp, in the offseason program, boy, that's a close one. I would say, maybe I'd put it this way. I'd say Watkins probably looks better to the untrained eye, but Cowing is ahead of Watkins as far as understanding of the offense, just being in it and probably doing the right things and running the routes. But I will say this. I think Watkins is a better natural route runner, but Cowing has really improved in that area, and he's taken a very significant jump from where he was as a rookie. Let's see here. Can the team find a way to get Grando 10 to 12 carries and 4 or 5 pass targets a game? I don't think so. I think that's too much. I think that probably 4 or 5 or 6 carries per game and 1 or 2 receptions per game while Christian McCaffrey is out there. I don't think, I mean, if he's carrying the ball 10 or 12 times, I mean, that would be, for the 49ers, that would be ideal, because that means that their offense is on the field a lot and that they're running the ball a lot, which means they're winning football games. So I think that's probably too much. Those numbers out there, probably too much, but maybe cut those in half. And now you're looking at something that's probably more manageable for the 49ers. And by the way, obviously, I'm sure that's a reference also to Christian McCaffrey and how he's looking during the offseason program. Very good offseason program for Christian McCaffrey. The burst, coming out of the backfield, the catching passes. And that's one thing I don't think that can be understated. Let me try it again. That's one thing that I don't think can be overstated, is Christian McCaffrey's ability to make everybody around him better. With Christian McCaffrey on the field, Brock Purdy, if his first read isn't there, can check that baby down and still have a productive play. He did not have that last year. Jordan Mason's a really good running back, but not even close to being in the same category as Christian McCaffrey as a pass catching target out of the backfield. So with Christian McCaffrey on the field, Brock Purdy's passing numbers look better because he can make an easy pitch and catch and watch McCaffrey take it, 10, 12, 14 yards. The other part of it is the offensive line. Without Christian McCaffrey, the offensive line had to hold their blocks longer. And we're talking, the 49ers offensive line is better in both the run game and the pass game with Christian McCaffrey on the field. And so the ability for them to not have to hold up 3 seconds in pass protection, because if it's not there, Brock Purdy can make that throw to McCaffrey. Also in the running game, they don't have to hold their blocks as long. I mean, McCaffrey has the ability on any given run play to be able to just kind of feel his way. 49ers offensive line, when they get out there in that zone scheme, they just kind of have to run interference, and then McCaffrey can take it. So he really helps out the 49ers offensive line and also Purdy and in the entire passing game. Okay, I'm going to just shoot a text to my daughters to make sure just so that they don't walk in here while I'm doing it. And okay, what else do we got here? Let's see. My son just got back from a backpacking trip to Emerald Lake. Fun. Conan Lombardi in a fight. Who wins? Oh, man. I don't know if I want to touch that, other than I don't know that they'd necessarily want to get in a fight and touch each other. It's very early, but who do you see as projected possible starters for the interior line? Run defense concerns me more than pass rushing. So potential starters for the interior offensive line. I think let's assume that Alfred Collins is healthy and ready to go. It's Alfred Collins and it's Jordan Elliott. And I think that's I'd say that's I'd feel very confident in saying that. Um, CJ West has a chance. Um, Evan Anderson, probably more of a rotational player, but yeah, I would say Elliott for sure, and then Collins pending his health, but certainly drafted in the second round to be a starter. So um, those would be the guys, and then Kevin Givens fits in there as well. My guess is probably um, Elliott and Givens if Collins isn't ready or has any kind of hiccups in his physical therapy, and then CJ West has a chance to fit in there as certainly as a top rotational player, and then maybe even eventually work his way into the starting lineup. And then, of course, down the road, I think the 49ers are banking on Collins and West being the starting defensive linemen, defensive tackles for the long term. Top 5D and top 5 special teams, my prediction. Wow. Well, that's a very bold prediction. Top 5 defense. I don't know about that. I would be skeptical. And if they are, oh my gosh, that would be like Robert Saleh will be a head coach again next season. It might be anyway. I just think that with the defensive line, the only superstar clearly is Nick Bosa. They're relying on an edge rusher, Bryce Huff, who everybody's talking highly about. But this is a guy that, he only has like 2 sacks a season. He had his 1 year, 10 sacks with the Jets, and the Eagles sign him, and then he goes back to 2 sacks. So I think there's a lot of leap of faith that Bryce Huff will have the kind of output he had in 2023 and not the kind of output he had in 2024, 2022, and 2021, and 2020? 5 years in the league, right? They need the rookies. They need Alfred Collins. They need CJ West. They need Sam Okawanu. They need Yetur Gross-Matos. They need some guys who aren't exactly proven to step up. So that's a defensive line. At least the defensive line has depth now. And they might be, other than Bosa, all roughly around the same player as far as production-wise, what they bring to the table. But they now go 8 or 10 deep, and they'll end up cutting a player or two who the 49ers probably would have been fine with being on the 53-man roster. The linebacker position, an obvious weakness last year, is still Fred Warner and question marks around him. The defensive backfield has the 2 starters, legitimate starters in Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green. That third starter, or the nickelback, or I should say the third cornerback, the outside cornerback. You have Trey Brown, who's, I think he's a pretty good player. I think he's an upgrade over Isaac Yiadom and Rock Yassin. But Trey Brown, coming over from Seattle, hasn't played much nickelback, but the 49ers believe he can play that position, but also Upton Stout. So they don't have a whole lot of depth there, but the guys who are kind of projected to be starters for them or significant players, I think they're okay with. The question again is, there's usually such attrition at the cornerback position just because of the demands of that spot. Teams have to dip into their depth. I mean, we saw it last year, how many defensive backs they lost and had to bring in new guys and all of that. And then the safety position, assuming that Jair Brown will be ready for the start of the regular season. So it's a very good chance that Jair Brown and Jason Pinnock will be the starting safeties. And then at some point, Malik Mustafa will come back. After that, you haven't seen Marquise Siegel, the draft pick from Kansas State. He did not take part in the offseason program with an injury the team knew about. I'm going to forget, it slips my mind exactly what that injury was. But anyway, your prediction as far as top 5, Boy, I don't know if I see that. I think they can even be better. Yeah, I mean, I guess they can be better than they were last year. Linebacker is a key part of this, and then just staying healthy is a key part of this. And then as far as special teams, um, it looks like Jake Moody. I mean, he would be my guess to be the kicker week one. Greg Joseph is the veteran they brought in. He nailed all 7 of his field goal attempts in practice on Wednesday. The day before, Moody was 6 of 7, and it went from basically 27 or 28 yards all the way to like 55 yards with those field goal attempts, moving hash marks from the right hash to the left hash and back and forth. So maybe there will be good competition there, but probably Moody will be the guy. Thomas Morstead replaces Mitch Wishnowsky. John Weeks replaces Taylor Pepper as the long snapper. But the 49ers did bring in some guys specifically for special teams, cover guys, and even the punt returner, Junior Bergen. Kind of doubt Junior Bergen makes the team as a 7th round pick, but somebody that will probably stay around on the practice squad. I think Jacob Cowing did show some promise as a return man last year. So my guess is he'd probably still be the guy handling punts and kickoffs. But when you look at special teams, it's Saran Neal, it's Luke Gifford, it's Richie Grant, it's some of those guys, Chaz Surratt. So they did bring in some basically special teams specialists to help out in that regard as well. Let's see. Okay, you're judging the team only. I'm looking at division strengths and weaknesses and the opponents. What's the holdup on rookie deals on the D line? I have no idea. I frankly don't even pay attention to the contracts at this time of year. Pay no attention to it. I stopped paying attention to rookie contracts after Michael Crabtree's deal in 2009 in the NFL. The CBA was changed to basically institute a slotting process. So the money has always been the thing when it comes to any contract. So the parameters are already set for. So I haven't looked into anything. Sorry. I'm asleep at the wheel on rookie contracts, but I just don't pay any attention to it. They'll get done. In fact, I know Shamar Stewart, there's some issue there with his contract. So I need to, I should give that a read and see what's going on there. If it's something that is some sort of, I don't know, some trend now with contracts, but it's, the guaranteed money, the offsets, all that. I find that to be of zero interest to me, quite frankly. So sorry, I don't have an opinion on the rookie contracts because I know they'll get done because the money's already slotted out there. All right, I think we kind of plowed through all of this on this 49ers Talk Live. It's not 49ers Talk Live. That's an actual NBC Sports Bay Area branded show. And we got another comment coming in here concerning future guaranteed money on his next contract. I don't know what that's referring to. Is that a Trent Williams question? But anyway, we've been doing this, Stuart. Concerning future guaranteed money on his next contract, that I don't understand that at all. You're talking about Shamar Stewart. Every rookie contract for a draft pick is 4 years. So at the end of 3 years, a player and an agent can renegotiate or do a new deal, which is why Brock Purdy had to wait 3 full seasons before he got his contract and was able to kind of recalibrate what he should be making as opposed to what he was scheduled to make. And so his next, the guaranteed money on his next contract is something for his next contract. It's not for this contract. So without knowing the situation, um, I'll have to look into that and see if there's any kind of logic behind that. So anyway, again, thank you so much for watching this 49ers live chat here on YouTube. Thanks for all the comments and everything else. Okay. Well, so they're trying to insert a clause regarding guaranteed money on his next contract, which to me would seem illegal because you can't have a next contract. It wouldn't be a next contract if you're already putting money together on this contract. And again, these contracts have to be 4 years in length. Nothing beyond that. Can't be a 5-year contract. Can't be a 3-year contract. And what else do we have here? If 49ers remain relatively healthy, they'll probably dominate the NFC West. I don't see them dominating. I don't see the 49ers dominating the NFC West, but I do think that they do have a really strong chance of reclaiming the top spot in the division. I think the Rams are good, very good. Here's my one little, I'll leave you on this. And I do think where that last place schedule really comes in for the 49ers is when you compare it to the Rams. I think the Rams are a good team, no doubt about it. And they've done a really good job of restocking their roster. Exactly what the 49ers are trying to do this offseason heading into this year, next year, and beyond, where the 49ers have a significant advantage over the Rams is that last place schedule opposed to the first place schedule, where the Rams play the Detroit Lions, the 49ers play the Chicago Bears. Where the Rams play the Baltimore Ravens, the 49ers play the Cleveland Browns. And what's the other one? Where the Rams play the Eagles, the 49ers play the New York Giants. So those are 3 games that are the games unlike any other. They have 14 games similar or the same against same opponents. But those 3 games where it's last place, 49ers play the last place team, Rams play the first place team, I think it's very significant. Okay, once again, thanks for tuning in to this kind of impromptu 49ers Live. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for your comments and your thumbs up and everything else. And that is it for now. So thanks again, and I'll be checking in shortly.